Today, an honest review of some trekking poles or hiking poles or ultramarathon poles, whatever you want to call them, they are poles. Guys, here's the conversation that you have with yourself if you're an ultramarathoner. You get into ultramarathons, you've been doing some local races, it's great, and then you want to sign up for a big one, and everyone says, oh my gosh, you're going to need some poles. And you're like, oh, poles, how hard could that be? I can get myself some poles. Then you get to the Google, you start doing some Googling, and you realize that just picking a set of poles is not that easy. And I'm going to make it much easier if you are a beginner for your first set of poles. Very, very easy. Just stick with me for 1 second. When I started looking at poles, I found them in pretty much a couple categories. You had the people that were just strictly hikers, that were going out and trekking, and they were just going to be hikers, right? And they didn't really care so much if it folded up, or they didn't really care so much about the weight. Most of them were telescoping poles that would shrink down. They had a much bigger pack. There was those people. Then you had the people that are ultramarathoners that were like, we need these things as small and light and packable and Z-fold, and that's what we need. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's what we need. Then you go and you look at the prices of some of these. You look at the leaky poles, you go to Black Diamond, you're like, oh my God. These are the conversations I had with myself. You start to say, oh, maybe I'll get some aluminum poles. Maybe I don't need some Z-fold. You know the conversation that you're going to having. And Harrier, the company, I believe they're out of the UK, they have just ended that conversation. And at first it was always like, hey, go get yourself a set of Black Diamond or leaky poles. You will not regret it. But now, every beginner I talk to, I send them to these poles, and I'll tell you exactly why. Guys, I'm not made of money. I am a teacher on a teacher's salary, so just spending money, hundreds of dollars on poles was really not something I wanted to do. But I will tell you this. This is a piece of equipment, and you're going to be spending so much money for this race and training and hours that you should probably really consider getting yourself a set of carbon poles that fold up nice and tight, and get some Z-fold poles. That would be my honest guy's opinion, because you don't necessarily want to be carrying around heavy aluminum poles, and you need places to carry them. Okay, so I would say this, if the difference between $100 and $200 is outside your price point, then maybe this isn't the sport right now for you. But we don't need to worry this, because guys, these carbon poles, they're under $100, and I thought, what's the catch? What is the catch? Now, are they perfect? Absolutely not. If somebody said, here, Brad, would you like these or would you like leaky poles? I'm going to take the leaky poles. I'm going to do that now because of what I've learned from these. Let's pull these out and let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you get this fancy little case with it. It's very, very nice. I carry my poles in a Solomon quiver. I did a video about that. You could check that out. I'll link it somewhere. Pull them right out. These are the Z-fold poles. I think we only need one for this demonstration. So these guys, Z-fold poles. They pretty much fold into 3 spots. You have your handle. Now, you're going to see carbon handles and you're going to see foam handles. I've had these out when I've been pretty sweaty. Yeah, they get wet. They're not as great as cork. I'm sorry, not carbon, cork. They're not as great as cork, but you can wear a little bit of gloves. That's fine, okay? What these essentially do, and these have these particular brand, they clip in to the bottom here. It has a nice little basket. More expensive ones are going to have different baskets that you could put on if you're in snow or things like that. This, I haven't really gotten it into anything that really this basket wouldn't be good for. It's got a nice solid tip on it. I have probably 100 miles on these things, and it doesn't even look worn. They actually still look brand new. And once you get these things out of your bag, up here is where you're going to engage it, right at the top. And essentially, you're just going to slide this piece down, and as you slide it in, everything clicks into place, and you hear it click. And there's going to be a button that's going to pop out, kind of like if you've ever installed a tent or anything like that. It's just a little push button right here. Boop, boop. And then when you want to release it, all you do is push that button. This will slide back in, and boom, your poles come apart that fast. That is awesome, okay? But most poles, that's how they're going to work, right? You get them out, boom. That's how fast I'm set up, okay? That's the first thing. The next thing, they are carbon, which, I'm hitting my lights all over the place. They are carbon, so with the carbon poles, these are under $100. They're under $100, okay? They're under $100. The carbon poles, under $100, 100 miles, like I said, love them. Here's another thing, and there are some cons. I will get to some cons, things that might drive you freaking crazy. The next thing, as a beginner, I did not know what size to use, okay? Because every company has a different size guide, and make your arm at a 90-degree angle. Well, is that when I'm on flat ground? Is that when I'm on an incline? Do I want these more for a decline? Is it with my shoes on? I have different stack heights of my shoes. Like that, the height thing was really, really important to me. These guys, they vary from 120 centimeters all the way up to 135. So you get 15 centimeters of play here. And it tightens here. I haven't had a problem with them sliding. I've heard some people be like, oh, when you put too much pressure. No, they're fine. It found out that I like my poles more for downhill stability. And because we're on an incline, I want my poles a little bit longer. So I'll tell you, when I was going to pull the trigger on leaky poles, my whole size guide was like 120, 125s. I am 5'10", maybe 5'11" with my shoes on. I thought I wanted 120s to 125s. To be honest, I keep my poles downhill. I keep them at like 130. But that's another thing that I love about these adjustable poles. When I'm flying downhill, I could put them at 130, right? When I have these open, that's how fast they open, and I'm flying downhill, and then I start an uphill, all I do is I open it, boom, I drop it to 125, and I get that adjustability. That alone and the price, I don't know why a beginner wouldn't try that. You're going to find out what length you like. You're going to find out, and like I said, you can look up the ounces. I'm not going to tell you all that stuff. You can look that stuff up. They're not too heavy. They're light. Are there carbon poles that are lighter? Will this adjustable give you 3 grams? Maybe. Yeah, okay. You feel what I'm saying, all right? If you like these types of reviews, I have a small channel. Consider subscribing. The only con that I have, okay, now another thing with poles, we have to know how to put our poles on correctly. This isn't a pole tutorial, but guys, our hands always go up through the strap and then we grab, okay? I see so many people put it in the top side and then they just do it like here. No bueno, okay? Because one of the beauty of poles, especially going uphill, is how you can add some of that pressure onto your wrist. So I'm not even grabbing my poles, okay? I'm pretty much, when I'm going uphill, I'm using my fingers to keep it in line, but I'm really driving most of that pressure through my upper hand and my wrist. So make sure we go up through here. This is my only con. They have a nice little pad on the inside here that you can't see because we're black on black on black on black. But there is a little bit of a pad here for your wrist, which I like a lot. But the adjustability of this, okay, this pole, I don't know anybody that would have them. Maybe like with a glove on, this would be good. But because this pad is here, the most tight I can get is there, okay? And I might to be honest, it drives me so crazy, I might even seam stitch it out and just cut a little bit of this pad off. Because when I'm in here, right, I'm still down the pole. I like to be right at the top of my pole. So when I really push through, there's like maybe an inch gap. Now, if you have bigger hands than me, this might not be an issue. The thing that I have been doing is, what I'll do is I have it a little looser, and I'll just do a twist, which will take off that little bit. Like I said, you figure out a way to adapt to your equipment. You can do that. And then also too, somebody told me that you could just wrap the top edge around the top. Said small cons. Like if these ones blow, because carbon will go, I'll probably get these again for the adjustability and the price. Because that's the other thing too, when you look up carbon, people say, oh, they break. I got them stuck here and there and it snapped. I snapped my friend's pole. Like, I don't want to be snapping $200 poles just on a whim. That could happen. And the company's like, yeah, that's a part of having poles. I'd rather have like a pair of $80, $90 poles that adjust, carbon, Z-fold, go right in my quiver, that if they break, I just talked myself into it. I'm probably just going to buy it back up there. Because like I said, I like them that much. Not sponsored. I did buy these. They actually don't respond to you on Instagram. I don't know why they don't do that. They're a small company. They should be responding to everyone. Harry, you should be responding to everyone because people want to say nice things about you. Other than that, guys, that's a quick honest review. If you have any questions about polls, leave them down in the comments or just leave a comment and let me know if you've had that conversation with yourself. I like to chat in the comments. It's one of my favorite things to do, actually. That's kind of weird. I will catch you guys on the next review.